when I think about art and kind of a unique nature to it, something that's standout, something that's different, one of the most quintessential paintings that I think one could argue is a little bit more on the realistic side is like the Mona Lisa, right?
Yeah,
And
it's not hyper realism like what I'm
yeah,
talking about with pencil drawings and
yeah,
stuff,
I know,
but
but it's much more. It how's this? It's much more on the realistic side than a typical Van Gogh,
right.
right? And I think what really captivates people. Obviously, there are a number of aspects here, but I think one of the things that really captivates people is just how peculiar her face is. Like the facial expression is so wildly unclear. Her eyes look very like almost like dare I say like depressed or dead in a way. Her forehead looks like
Right.
fake, and yet there's this like weird level of like devious life in her smile, and it's just it's a very odd look. It's a very odd dichotomy there.
It is strange. I know some people describe her as like a very beautiful woman.
Yeah,
I, it is strange.
it's just it's odd.
Personally,
It's odd.
I've never really like gotten to the point where I've really recognized or probably fully appreciated the Mona Lisa. It's never really
Sure.
struck a chord with me
Yeah, I mean I
personally,
haven't
but
been to the Louvre, but like looking at it now, it's I understand that it's wildly unique in one way, right? It's one of those things that you're not able to like take your eyes off. It's just so interesting. Like we've kind of talked about this before actually. Sometimes I'll watch somebody and I'm not great with names, but I'm very observational with people's people always say, "Oh, I'm great with faces." I almost always recognize people's faces and can tell you what else they're from, whether it's an actor or actress. I can name the 5 other movies that I've seen a given actor in, but I don't remember the individual's name most of the time. But the other thing that I always focus on is mannerisms or feelings that somebody elicits, and I'll describe them to you. So let's say one of my descriptions of somebody was it looks like they always have something that they're hiding and they're nervous that you'll find out. And you knew,
it's just a mannerism.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like a mannerism or a way that somebody carries themselves. And that coupled with like the hair color and oh,
The
it's
context of where you saw them,
yeah.
and then I knew who you were talking
You knew
about. Yeah.
exactly. And yet this was like the first time that I had ever mentioned this person in that way. It wasn't as if I was referring to a previous conversation. And I think that oftentimes the things that capture our attention are just so interesting to us, especially from an art perspective, are things like that. Like when I look at the Mona Lisa and like everything that comes together, the hand placement, the hair, how it's so flat at the top and kind of wispy and odd on the sides, and how the face seems to be expressing like multiple different emotions at once. Or you look at Van Gogh's Starry Night and it's this weird like flowing nature to the sky, and the way that it's painted is just so unique, and the use of color and how it's primarily blue, and yet you know and completely understand that this is like deep in the night, I think is so interesting. And it's because it's got like this wildly unique aspect to it. And I think that is also what helps propagate like memes nowadays. Right? It's these things, it's these lines that just grab you. They're just so peculiar or odd or different in a way. And to me, that right there, people will point this out as a negative in certain movies, and the quintessential example in my mind of peculiar odd things being pointed out and people saying it's a negative, but really that to me is what makes it so iconic and amazing is Star Wars. the number of lines in Star Wars that are so iconic, and it seems like people are just divided on these, whether they're so cringy and terrible or unique and captivating.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to me. I think Star Wars is like the quintessential or a quintessential movie example of this.
Yeah, the thing I was thinking about with the memes is like sometimes memes just honestly express an emotion that
Mm-hmm.
or gifs, I think it's gif, but express an emotion that it's like I don't know how else to express that to someone
Yeah.
over
It's
text, right?
so
Like
visceral.
when I
Like that
send,
dude with the shaking head and the eyes that
yeah,
open.
that's my favorite
We'll
meme.
put it in the YouTube video.
Or the like the Pikachu being surprised. The like
Yeah.
it's just how else are you gonna express that? And it's like all of us together, we have a communal understanding of like what that means.
Yeah.
Right? Like the girl in the car seat who's I don't even know what it's called, but she's like
Oh,
a
she's
little
like kind of like
disgusted.
disgusted and
Yeah.
taken aback,
It's
and
like
she's like 4 or something. Yeah.
it's just a picture, but it's like been
Mm-hmm.
given this meaning that like we can all share in some collective understanding of that.